What if the reason that you're still tired is because your body has never known true safety? I think a lot of people, autistic people, neurodivergent people, talk about this constant state of exhaustion, that no matter how much sleep they get, they're always tired. And this has been something that has been extremely prevalent in my life as an adult. I remember the first time I experienced depression for the first time, which is unlike anything that I had ever experienced before. I was in a very, very dark space. The doctors prescribed me not only antidepressants, but also these tranquilizers because my states of anxiousness and depressive episodes were so severe that they said like the best thing that I could do was just go to sleep. And so I got almost hooked on these tranquilizers. Like, they worked so quickly, and I would take one in the morning and one at nighttime, and they would just make me so foggy, and I could sleep the entire day, month, year away. And that's exactly what I did. And I don't think that my body or my mind has ever actually recovered after this. Like, my sleeping habits have never recovered from this time. So it's always been something that has been a priority to me in talking about and sharing the autism experience. I think a big part of that is exhaustion. And why does this happen? Maybe things that you haven't thought about before. So let's chat about it. Grab a glass of water, a hot cup of tea, and let's sit down together and enjoy this conversation. So what does safety actually mean to the nervous system? Well, I think for a lot of autistic children, whether you were diagnosed or not diagnosed, regardless what you were, I think if you were experiencing overwhelm, meltdowns, shutdowns, anxiety, hopelessness, any one of these negative emotions, I think for a lot of us we were told that we were fine because we weren't in any real immediate danger. I mean, a lot of us could have been, and I definitely acknowledge that, but oftentimes, like, when there's quote unquote nothing wrong, there's nothing bad happening around us, the adults can often invalidate the experiences, the overwhelm, the thoughts we're having, and just say you're fine, everything is fine. But the thing that was missing in those moments of invalidation, of dismissal, of maybe even punishment, is the emotional safety. And that plays such a big part in the way that the nervous system operates. Safety, of course, if you grew up in a traumatic, abusive environment, like, that is one thing entirely, and I am certainly not qualified or in any position for me to talk about that. And so if this was kind of your upbringing, I don't think that, I mean, I'm sure that there could be something that you get out of this video, but it is not specifically what I am talking about in today's video, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that and acknowledge what you went through, so that I don't invalidate that at any point. I am more touching on the emotional safety that may not have been present in a lot of our households. So safety doesn't just have to be from trauma or abuse, but it can be about having a regulated and attuned environment to what is going on internally. So in order to understand whether you grew up in these types of environments, some of the questions you could ask yourself here are: were your needs met in this environment without being punished? Were your meltdowns soothed or shamed? And could you exist without being on guard? On guard is such a key word, I think, for the autistic experience, and it comes from a whole bunch of different means. I think that there is this chronic hypervigilance to what is going on around us. It's perhaps come from a place of not being able to read people's facial expressions, not being able to read context, emotions, tone of voice. But on top of that, I think it's also about the masking that comes and having to stay hyper and attuned to the people that you're around so that you can mask. I had this conversation the other day with someone where I was saying, within a conversation, within a group setting, I do need to kind of zone out a little, go a little bit more quieter, because I do need to listen and watch and hear the general consensus of the group, the jokes that are accepted, the views that are held, so that I don't overdo it in some ways, or I don't underdo it in other ways. It's basically always watching others, mimicking them, copying them, in order to play normal. And so this kind of fixation on trying to keep safe, on trying to fit in, it really does create chronic hyperfixation, which is a very heightened state of the nervous system. I don't think people actually realize that masking is actually so tied into the survival responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. It's like your brain is running in the background 24/7 without any let up, without ever having a rest. I always like the metaphor of, like, imagine you're in a room and you're sleeping with a tiger, and it's not attacking you at all. It's just existing in the room. Do you think that you're going to be able to relax fully? Even if you know, okay, this tiger isn't going to hurt me, are you really going to let your guard down 100%? Probably not. So how does burnout and fatigue show up in autistic adults? This can look like emotional flatness. I have always judged myself, and I currently still do, when I'm wanting to be excited and I'm wanting to be happy and I'm wanting to have this, like, get up and go type attitude, particularly when it's like a fun environment, and I can't access those emotions, I can't access that energy. It's just always and I find it hard to sit with. Executive dysfunction, you're unable to start things. So getting up from your bed and going to the shower can take a lot of time, effort, and energy, just trying to get your head around, okay, I'm about to transition. Once you're in the shower, it can be really hard to get out of the shower. There's so many different sensory pulls that are happening during all these transitions, I suppose, and not being able to think straight, not having a clear streamline of thoughts. Those are all executive dysfunction. Along with that comes brain fog, confusion, irritability. I think we can all agree with this one. Needing more recovery time than peers, and this can often come down to our shutdowns and our meltdowns and our sensory overwhelm. All of these are signs of burnout and fatigue. Something that I think, and I'm not sure if people are going to agree with me here, but bear with me, one of the things that I really do believe for autistic people is learning to rest, learning to actually nurture those quiet moments and genuinely find peace is actually a skill that we have to work on. Because I think ultimately, if we don't know how to do something, if we've never truly relaxed, if we've never truly just allowed ourselves to be, then how do we know how to do it? It takes work. It takes a certain skill building, I suppose. In actual fact, like, true rest might actually feel genuinely unsafe at first, which is really wild. I think I can speak for so many of us when I say, like, there often comes a certain level of guilt and anxiety when we, say in the middle of the week, we are so burnt out and we need the day off. Like, we know that we can't keep going, and a recovery day is actually going to do us better. But then as we're having the recovery day, we're feeling bad about the fact that we're having a recovery day. So we actually never learn to rest. And that is still survival mode. That is why you're never actually fully feeling alive and refreshed. Because even in the moments of restorative peace that you should be having, that you're allowed to have, can I just say, you don't have to earn it, you're allowed it, you're still beating yourself up because you need it. And I think that we're very, very good at that. We're very, very good at beating ourselves up. We're very, very good at denying ourselves things and telling ourselves that we should be doing this and we shouldn't be doing that. And I hate that. I hate that our minds want to punish us, but I do think it comes from this need to conform and perform and mask and be accepted, and it's just like, So what do we actually need here? I'm not sure that it's necessarily more sleep, although if you're not getting enough sleep, definitely it's worth a go. I know that doctors always kind of say, is it a vitamin deficiency? Are you getting enough exercise, sleep, eating good food? Like all of those things, of course, they exist and they are said for a reason. But when I am talking to an autistic person like you right now, I do tend to wonder, could this be more of an issue of like less about those things? Or of course they still play a part, but could it have more to do with the hyper-aroused state that your nervous system is in? So therefore, what needs to happen is we need to find ways on bringing that down. We need to find times of restorative rest. And I think the big things that we need to consider when we are thinking about restorative rest is that there are no time pressures. We're not having to get up and go somewhere else, because then we're always thinking about, oh my God, I've got to get up, I've got to do this. You know, designating time in your week to just be and do nothing with yourself. To add on to this point, there's no expectation, because I think when we are around people, as much as we love these people and as comfortable as we are, I still think we do better. Our nervous systems do better, our minds do better, our bodies can sometimes do better when we are just thinking for ourselves without the input and energy of another person in the space. And so factoring that in to the restorative rest days is very, very important. I go into great detail on this channel about the importance of returning back to your inner child, your inner teenager, and really spending that time with them, self-stimming in the ways that you need to, doing the routines, having the solitude in the ways that your inner child or inner teenager might need. I mentioned a few months back that I recently bought a coloring book, and so that is something that I now do in order to just like tend to myself. It's going back to the basics of what did work, what were the things that were working all those years ago, like what did make me feel good. Something that's always made me feel that I can switch off no matter what is going on in my life. It's gotten me through, you know, the worst parts of my life, the best parts of my life. It's watching TV shows. I relate to emotions. I can access my own emotions when I watch TV shows and movies, and I can be in those storylines and I can really switch off. And so that is something, you know, I will definitely designate times in my week where I just need to sit on the couch and watch TV, and it might be a beautiful day and everybody else is enjoying their day outside, and I'm like, nope, it's going to be far better if I'm around nobody. I'm not enjoying the sun, I'm with myself and I'm watching a TV show and I get to switch off. And that's a big part of it. It's not feeling guilty for doing the things that are different than what other people would do. You know, I think a doctor would say, you know, when it's sunny, get outside and enjoy the sunshine. And of course, there is validity to what they're saying in that, for the average person, mind you. This is why it's so important to build a community of autistic people and listen to autistic people, because what neurotypical's advice might be may not apply to you. And if you're trying to take on their advice and you're unable to stick with it and you're like beating yourself up like, why can't I do this, then you just feel even worse and you're still not having that restorative rest that you need. It's rebuilding that internal safety slowly. Low demanding environments is all I can say. Really think about what kind of environments are not going to test you. And this, as I said, is a skill, and it does take work to build this and know yourself enough to know what's going to work and what doesn't. And I really encourage you guys, because you are so great and so incredible in the comment section, and I read your guys' comments and I learn from you, and you're all learning from each other. We're all learning from each other, and I really do ask if there are routines or different things that work for you, like please leave it in the comment section below, because there might be someone out there that's looking to try something that they've never tried before. And I certainly don't have all the answers at all, but you might have an answer for somebody that they've been searching for. So I really do encourage you guys just to let me know, what do you do after a really stressful week, month, year? How do you decompress? How do you find your inner child again? How do you recover from that fatigue? Honestly, I'm still learning about it myself, but a big part of that, and I know that so many of you will relate to this when I say it, but a big part of finding out that I was autistic meant that this guilt was taken off me when I couldn't socially perform 7 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. I was like, okay, this makes sense why I can't do it. Why have I been so cruel on myself when I was never meant to perform in this way, and I've been forcing myself to do that? Anyway, all of that to say, I am a work in progress myself. I create these videos to open discussions and have this back and forth conversation with you guys. The dialogue is so helpful to my life, and I know so many of you are finding great input in the comment section. So thank you so much for watching. I am going to leave it there today, you guys. If you are currently in burnout, fatigue, please do something for yourself today. I know it's not that easy, particularly if you have commitments and whatever else, but just even 2 minutes in the shower, just checking in with what's going on in your body. Are your shoulders tense? Like right now, are you sitting? Just bring the shoulders down. Allow yourself to just take a breath out. Relax your jaw. Take the tongue off your roof of your mouth. Simple things. Just checking in with yourself. If you guys would like to see any more of my neurodivergent content, I upload consistently. You're probably sick of me. All my links are down below. Thank you so much for being a part of today's video, joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.